the way that some have been talking in the media lately, it makes me think that maybe they didn't have a grandma or a grandpa, or if they did, they treated them like shit. But let me give some context first. So, I'm a filmmaker and I have been so fortunate to work with many different people, but one person in particular named Ann Benson is, well, let's just say, I'm not going to say her age because she would get mad at me, but let's just say that she is older than both of the presidential candidates, and not by a little. So, Anne and I have worked on multiple projects, and one of those projects was my first feature documentary, where she was really the narrator host of the entire film and the voice and the face of the film. And she is an amazing individual. Anyone who knows her or has seen her work knows this about her. But it brings me back to my point, which is that as a filmmaker, I have had a unique position to work with people who are considered seniors, and not just with Anne. Most recently, I also did a documentary short that was based off of my great aunt's 81st high school reunion. So she has now passed away, but she was over 100. And I worked with her classmates and others who were also in their hundreds. So I'm somebody who has definitely interacted with, as I'm sure lots of people who are in the medical profession or who are in care know and interact with people who are in their 70s, 80s, 90s, hundreds. Which all takes me back to the point of this video and my comment at the beginning about the media. Because there's been this really vile and disgusting attitude that a man in his 80s must have dementia. A man is in his 80s must have Alzheimer's. There's been this attitude, and to be honest, a ageism that treats a group monolithically, as if every 80-year-old has the same thing. Or when you become 80, you of course become senile. Well, I can tell you as a fact, having interacted with 90-year-old plus and people who are 100, that's not true. They don't automatically have dementia. They don't automatically have these various things. And I believe very strongly that what can be explained with all of the attitude and the vitriol right now is largely ageism and ignorance. Imagine, if you will, for a second, if I started making statements about how all teenagers acted, everybody who's 18, every woman, that there is a certain way that everybody acts in a group. Well, obviously, I'd be an idiot, and people would rightly call me out on that. I don't understand why the narrative has been allowed to exist when it comes to age, because it's the president. Suddenly that is some kind of exception, but nobody's coming forward and saying he has these specific diagnoses, because nobody knows. And the irony is, I really believe that Joe Biden would absolutely step down if he did have dementia, if his doctor did tell him that there were problems that he could not do the job. But we, in the public, think that we know who he is because of the way he walks or because of his age. That has nothing to do with up here. And I think the last thing I would say in my experiences with working with seniors and people of older ages is that they don't think of themselves that way. There's this weird attitude like, oh, he's a frail old, like crotchety, silly old man. And it's like, he doesn't think of himself that way. I can guarantee you he doesn't think that way, because everyone I have interacted with, whether they're 93, whether they're 62, whether they're 101, none of them think of themselves as, oh, I'm an old man now, or I'm some senile guy and can't do the job. Everyone thinks of themselves as who they are, as the person. And I just wish that we as a society could get better at treating people and judging people based on their action, and maybe not the way that they walk or the amount of years that they've lived on this planet. It's kind of sad, I think, that Americans are so shitty when it comes to age. Like, I think it's cool. I think that you've lived this life and you have hopefully seen and learned, and you definitely have stories to impart. And I know because I've recorded those stories. So maybe we should all just, chill the fuck out about the age thing.